Imagine yourself in a post-apocalyptic world. You've grown up in an elite facility on Kepler 209, where the people have become infertile because of radiation. Now it's up to you and your crew to figure out whether it's safe for them to return to Earth. Louise Blake in 2021's Tides faced a similar predicament. We're here to tell you can do better than she did. How? Watch this video to find out. First, try to stay alive when landing. You're traveling 1,913.5 light years away from your planet. You've got to make sure you land safely when you arrive. So what do? You check your spaceship and fix all of its nicks and scratches, and the very first obstacle Louise and her team faced was when they crashed into the sea when landing. You don't want a dead crew member in your hands. You need them all to be healthy and safe to carry out your mission. Sure, you know a little about Earth except for what survivors have told you, but even then you're living in an elite space facility. You'll probably have ways to figure out the do's and don'ts of space travel, especially when you're traveling to an endangered planet whose situation you're completely unaware of. So make sure you're prepared for your recon mission and have gathered enough data about Earth to know which coordinates to enter when landing. After all, you don't want to pull a Louise and crash land in the sea and lose a crew member in the accident. Also, make sure to train with a qualified medical team. Now, of course, it's very possible to crash while landing on Earth despite taking all protective measures, but you can't leave your crewmate wounded or dead, like Louise did. There's a recipe for disaster, and we all saw how it turned out in the movie. Guys, you're traveling to a planet where life is endangered and humans are scarce. You need to be prepared for everything that could go wrong, including any medical emergencies you may face. Remember, you're an elite astronaut from an exclusive space facility, and if you're not prepared for emergency landing procedures, you shouldn't be going on this mission at all. So remember to stock up on medical knowledge, including ways to stitch wounds, stop copious bleeding, and CPR administration for emergency situations. And whatever you do, keep a low profile. Okay, so you've landed. One of your crew members died despite you doing everything to save them, and one of them is bleeding heavily. What do you do? No, don't look at that cyanide pill you've got hanging from your neck. Look for shelter instead. You already know that the last Kepler crew who traveled to the planet disappeared and never came back. So there's a chance that there are people or things on this planet that could end your life. In a situation like this, the most obvious thing you should do is keep a low profile. Because a spaceship crashing out of nowhere is bound to grab some eyeballs, you should know that any creature or person living around will look for you. Don't leave your team member behind in this situation. Instead, after you've controlled their bleeding with your medical skills, leave them with to go look for shelter. That way, even if the mud people discover your ship, you won't have to lose all your team members in the chaos. We'll assume you've taken enough food supplies and a handy medical kit with you when you escape your pod. If not though, guys, with mistakes like that, we don't think you could survive on Earth even if there was a chance of life on the planet. Just saying, stay prepared and don't let your guard down for one bit. Of course, there's always the off chance that you will get captured by the mud people. In that case, hey, stop looking at that cyanide pill. It will not help you. What will help is the knowledge about Earth and its people. So remember to learn your facts about Earth, and it also wouldn't hurt to practice a few people skills to make sure you don't die because you lack charm and manners when you meet the dystopian members of that planet. But what if you get caught? Do not, under any circumstances, fight. That doesn't mean you can't defend yourself, but you know how we told you to polish your people skills? Yeah, you gotta do that to get some brownie points with the mud people, especially the ones who are being captured and taken to the cargo ship. Because, and we don't mean to undermine you or anything, the mud people have a lot of other problems that they need to resolve before they get to interrogate you. So, stay put, try to engage with the people of the land, and please ask your partner to stay away from that cyanide pill. Honestly, the way the guy in the movie decided to commit suicide as soon as he saw danger just proves he wasn't prepared for the mission at all. Okay, yes, he was losing a lot of blood, but they could have been prepared for that too. You have the choice to do better. Maybe even hide the pills so you can't be tempted to eat them. We don't know, guys, but if it was us instead of you who finally found the signs on Earth we were looking for, we wouldn't be too quick to end our lives. And trust your gut more than anything else. Now, let's assume you managed to find shelter. Stay put long enough to understand what's happening on Earth, charm the mud people to let you go, or maybe found a way to escape and found the cargo ships that you can keep safe from the tides. Now what? Your next step is to get on board. Remember, the crew of the Ulysses 1 is already there, and Gibson, being the forerunner of this whole show, will probably recognize you from Kepler 209. But hey, just because he's a familiar face doesn't mean you have to trust him. Nope, of course, you don't have to fight him on the get-go. Take your time in building his trust, and you can even question him to get your facts straight. But take everything with a grain of salt, because the most obvious thing to not do in a survival situation is to trust just anyone you meet. What you should do is instead take your time learning about the ship and the current situation on Earth. Befriend the ship's crew, bribe them if you can, but make a note of all the affluent people on the ship and try to engage with them and your partner to gain their trust. And once you've done that, start preparing to contact Kepler 209 again. Because guys, you can't turn your back on your people. Remember how we said you can do better than Louise to survive tides? Yeah, here's the biggest part of that. Now that you've survived the crash, have your partner with you, managed to reach the ship, and have met your father, whom you believed was dead, you've also found out that life on Earth is possible because your father's dystopian affair child was right there as proof. What do you do next? Not turn your back on your people, for one. Because sure, the whole promise of capturing women to carry forward life on Earth is diabolical and brutish. You can't just forget the place you grew up at and survive the long just because your dad told you the Keplers will take Earthlings hostage when they come back. Oh, and also, you've got a bone to pick with your dad too, but you can do that after the whole Earth Kepler crisis is averted. Because let us remind you again, you're an elite astronaut who can probably find a way to save the people on Earth and Kepler 209 without distancing yourself from either. So what is that you can do to make sure you and your family on both planets survive the situation? You get your facts straight, inform the Keplers of the Earth situation, and take your dad and the ship's crew help in freeing the women captured by Gibson and his friends. Oh, and if your dad mentions how Keplers could make Earthlings their slaves if they arrived, remind them that it was like 10 years for the Keplers to arrive to Earth. That's plenty of time to build an ecosystem where people on Earth can defend themselves against the people arriving from space. Who knows? Maybe you can finally manage to save this dystopian planet after all. And most of all, try not to kill the climate in the first place. You know all these troubles happen only because of Earth's climate change, right? If the movie showed us anything, it's that our climate finally reached a tipping point, making the planet inhabitable for people. We don't want that happening to the real world, do we? So guys, let's make climate change serious, because you never know when your world turns into dystopian waterland. And when it does, you may need a whole other set of skills to survive other than what we've told you in this video, because chances are you may not get to travel Kepler 209 at all. And while we don't know about you, we don't want to become mud scavengers left behind on a dying planet. And that's a wrap for this video. How would you plan your survival if you got stuck in tides? Let us know in the comments down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.